from Israel and the Galilee. Do me a small favor. Do not post in the chat for about 2 minutes. Let me get my posts up there so they get up at the top, and then I'll give you the all clear sign in a minute, okay? It won't be long. Just let me get my stuff up there, please. And let's see if I got it yet. So they get up at the top. Okay, I got it. We got sound and picture. Just give me a minute before you post in the chat, please. I have to race with people that want to post right away. Almost done, guys. Okay, post away. I'm finished. All right, let's make sure people are coming in. They are. All right. So today's 29th of March. It's 10:34 in the morning. We're gonna hit the 80s today, but it gets cold at night, and that's gonna change probably in a week. So anyway, our house is starting to warm up, which is nice. I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt, Hey. Okay, being a Bible believing site, I'm going to do some praise to start. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so what we're going to do today is start off with some news because there's a lot of really end times highly relevant stuff happening in the Middle East and in Israel. Okay, so I usually the just run of the mill news, but this isn't run of the mill. So what happened with the ultra Orthodox Jews and the draft and their economic funding from the state of Israel? They basically, when Netanyahu got in office with his corruption, they gave him support. Two political parties, one's called Shas, S-H-A-S, and the other one is called United Torah Judaism, but they don't really emphasize the Torah, they emphasize the Talmud. So anyway, which does contradict the Bible in extreme fashion, tremendous contradictions with the Bible. It's not Bible. So they got Netanyahu to basically turn them into a welfare state. They end their secular education for the young people at grade 8. So they basically have reading, writing, arithmetic, And then they just study they call it Torah. You see, they refer to the Talmud and the Kabbalah, which is considered a witchcraft book by many people, and I think it's not at all inaccurate. They attribute this. They call it Torah. It's not Torah. Okay, they call it that. It confuses people. Now, so they corrupted Netanyahu for many things. They saw a golden opportunity with Netanyahu to make themselves basically wards of the state. In other words, a welfare group of 1,280,000 people, draining the economy of Israel, which is in bad shape. People are, 28% of the people in Israel live at a poverty level, the poverty line. So yeah, they eat, but what do they eat? How often do they eat? You know, what kind of clothes do they wear? What's their houses like? You know, poverty level. Now, let me put that into perspective for you, so you get a number, not just a percentage. You know. So you've got 6 point. Let's just worry about the Jews here. You got 6.9 million Jews in Israel, and multiply this by 0.28, you've got almost 2 million Jews living at the poverty level. Now, the numbers could be slightly skewed. Maybe more Arabs are living that way, but I don't think so. They live better than the Jews in Israel. Netanyahu takes care of them better. They pay less taxes. They get more benefits. This all kinds of things. All kinds of things. Now, so the people are not happy that he decided to fund the ultra-Orthodox, of course, so he could get their votes. Combined, the two parties give him 15 votes out of 120, which our Knesset is a single house Congress, 120 members, 120 votes. So what we got going on here is this has gotten suspended to some extent from the Supreme Court. What Netanyahu did was he created a law that violates the equality doctrine in Israel, our basic laws, which are like our constitution. Not exactly. Israel has no constitution. It's not exactly a constitution, but it's similar, and it doesn't have anywhere near the guarantees of a constitution. Okay, like in America. So let's get that down. So not even close. I mean, maybe half as much. Maybe, you know. So it's not fair to exempt a certain class of people from the draft. I mean, you could exempt people that are crippled and handicapped, obviously. That's a medical thing. But so they got an exemption, and they were trying to get Netanyahu to incorporate that into the basic laws of Israel so that it couldn't be messed with by the Supreme Court. Well, those days are over. The Supreme Court of Israel, which is really called the High Court, struck it down. That's over with. So they got to get drafted. Now, the question is when? That's the million-dollar question. Netanyahu's been stalling it forever, but the days of stalling it are running out. So what the court's doing is this. The draft age men, which I believe is 18 to 26 is the figures they're using, that are in these yeshivas where they study the Kabbalah and the Talmud, and they do study Torah, but very, very little. They're not going in the military immediately, but starting, I believe, June 1st, the institutions they attend, called yeshivas, which are like learning institutions, but they're more so, some of them have housing, and people live there and eat there and everything else with apartments. And you have to understand, there's people in these yeshivas that are in their 80s. You know, they never work. I would think maybe at the maximum 10% of these ultra-Orthodox work. Probably closer to 3 or 4 or 5%. I think it's probably 5% or lower. Okay, they do have some jobs, but it's very, very slight. Okay, so they become a welfare burden on Israel. That is not like a burden of people that are handicapped or something like that. or a woman that had a husband die and they had 8 children, well, the government of Israel doesn't want her working, they want her staying home. So in Israel, when you have children, you get a amount of money from the government every month. And if you get to 8 children, you better believe they're going to give you enough to live. And your taxes and your property taxes are non-existent. I believe you can reduce your electric bill and other things. So they don't live good. Let's not go there. But they live okay. So the woman would have nothing to do all day but take care of the house and the kids. All right. That's how Israel operates. So there's a lot of people on welfare. If you're an old person and you can't really do anything, okay, like you can't, cook and you can't shop and you can't go to the bathroom and stuff like that, they get you what's called in Israel a metapellet, a live-in. It can be a live-in person that takes care of you. If you're not completely that bad off and you could be left alone at night, they might just come for 8 hours. But you're supposed to be really in bad shape to get it. You got to go through medical exams and you got to appear before a panel of doctors. I mean, you got to be, if you can go to the refrigerator and pour yourself a bowl of cereal and make yourself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and go to the bathroom and take a shower, they're not going to consider that. They might send you somebody for 2 or 3 hours a day to do your laundry and clean the house or something like that. So they have a lot of this going on in Israel. Okay? And a lot of these metapellets come from the Philippines and other countries. And with some old people that are by themselves, they live in the dwelling with the person. There's a lot of this in Israel, okay? They don't live well, and the metapellets are watched very closely, so there's no abuse. Social workers visit, they inspect how the house is, there's good ones and bad ones. All right, moving along. So around June 1st, they're going to calibrate all the young men that are in yeshivas that are 18 to 26 years old, and they're going to remove the stipend or the monthly welfare payment they pay to the yeshiva organization for these people. This is going to cause a lot of economic damage to the ultra Orthodox. Okay? And there's room in the law, the way the Supreme Court did it. They gave them till June 1st because they didn't want to cause economic shock all of a sudden to the ultra Orthodox. So the session of the yeshiva usually breaks at June 1st. I guess they take a couple of months off and then start again in August. I don't know. But their money is getting stopped in August, and considering we're about in April, it's a 2-month warning, which is rather abrupt. Usually they would do a year or 6 months or something. So they're not happy, and the people in Israel, the only people that really are pro-ultra-Orthodox being supported are themselves and the corrupt politicians that gave them this discriminatory bonus, Now, with the draft, they have some provisions the Supreme Court gave them to where they might be able to drag this out for a few months, which means prophetically time will run out. So the chances of the ultra-Orthodox ever actually reporting for duty and going in the military is very slight. I doubt it's going to happen. I doubt it. But it's on the way. Now, the ultra-Orthodox don't view prophetic events like we do. They don't have any idea or prophecy and timing. You know, they're working with the gods of the dead. They just say they're working with the God of Israel, they're not. So they're mad, and they might blow Netanyahu's coalition up by, they just say we're leaving his coalition, and 15 votes walk out the door. Benny Gantz calls for a vote of no confidence. Doubtful Netanyahu would manage, and then they could hold a new election the same day or the next day, and Benny Gantz could emerge with 61 hands raised in the Knesset, and he's the new prime minister. And then Netanyahu's criminal trials will drop on his head quickly because the Supreme Court will just go after him. Now, they may have, well, I think they did this basically because it's a very unfair, illegal, discriminatory law to create a classification of super Jews, and look who he created it with, my gosh. So, what do? Well, they threatened to leave Israel. Now, since things can be stalled for probably sometime in the fall, that gives them time to get out of Israel in a way where the government may let their young men leave Israel, or they may not. The military, the people that leave Israel have to get a clearance from the military to leave. Now, they wouldn't bother me. I don't know what age the cutoff is, 50, 60, 46 perhaps, I don't know. There's a point where you have so many years, it could be 40. I think reservists just serve until they're 40. There's a level where you're so old you don't really have to bother with the military clearance. There's nothing to worry about. Your passport has your birth date. So they may not be able to leave Israel. I don't know, because this is all brand new, uncharted territory that happened a couple of days ago. So the military has great discretion here, according to the Supreme Court, about when they want to draft them. So they could freeze them from leaving the country tomorrow. And then they can't really pull off this exodus out of Israel unless they go and just leave their young men behind in the army, which doesn't sound like they're going to do it. So basically, the ultra-Orthodox have been painted into a corner. Their best move now would be to see if there's another viable candidate to become prime minister if there is a vote of no confidence, which I'm pretty sure there will be pretty soon. And he gives them the corruption concessions like Netanyahu did. Benny Gantz is in no way, shape, or form going to give them what they want. Benny Gantz is not going to exempt them from the draft. He made public statements. And he used to be a former head of the IDF, and before that he was a general, and then before that a colonel and a captain and a major or whatever, right? Okay, so he's a career military, and he's not going for this. I don't see any indication of them drafting the ultra-Orthodox women. Nothing is popping up on that. There are now cries to start drafting the Arabs living in Israel. 1.6 million are citizens. I don't know what the Arabs will say about that, and I don't know what the people of Israel will say. They would have to screen out the Muslims from this population that they intend to draft. And this is easy for them to do, or they may just try to screen out the radical, enthusiastic, terrorist-oriented Muslims and leave the nominal ones alone, and draft them. The Bedouins and the Druze, which are sort of spin-offs of Islam, they're pretty close to Islam. They go in the military all the time. The Bedouin are known for being good trackers in the deserts and stuff like that, and they fight. And the Druze are very good fighters, and they're in the military too. So they're going to probably move on this because it came up that the not drafting the Arabs, where they have all the other benefits of living in Israel, is discriminatory in favor of them also. So that would enable Israel to expand its military probably by 300,000 or 400,000 if they, but prophetically I don't see the time frame for this at all. So this is what's happening in Israel. Can this cause a civil war? Probably not. It can cause getting rid of Netanyahu. That's a likely expectation, and soon. However, a certain piece of Israel is going to be afraid to get rid of Netanyahu because the Arabs will see it as a sign of weakness and attack right at the transition time. So when the new guy is in, they'll attack in the first few days before he could get his government seated. Now, Gantz is cut from the same demonic cloth as Netanyahu. You're not going to get anything good from him. It'll be different than Netanyahu. He may be able to persecute or prosecute, or whatever the word. He'll be able to push the war better and faster and more expediently than Netanyahu, because Netanyahu had an interest in dragging it out. So many experts have been saying. So yeah, that would be a big thing. Okay? So the change in the administration is probably 65% on the way. I don't know the exact date, but sooner than later, I think. Now, the Americans have refused some military equipment that Israel requested of them. One, the Joint Chiefs of Staff guy said, well, we can't send you that because Biden doesn't want us to. He was very blunt. Other people, other media published that a more detailed thing that some press secretary released, that Israel can't give you everything you want because we can't run down our own supplies. We're scared to do that. So it's just Biden, giving alibi stories. It's Biden not wanting to give Israel weapons to force an end to the war with Hamas. Their thinking, which can be grossly incorrect, is that Hezbollah and Yemen will stop the war against Israel. And aspects of Syria too. Terrorist groups there are periodically, but not steadily, attacking our Golan Heights with missiles and rockets. They generally don't cause any damage. They land in fields. Now, Iran operates in Syria heavily, and we've been blowing up a lot of weapons shipments for missiles and rockets that are destined to go to Hezbollah, because that's Iran's job. Now, what we need to glean from this, and I've told you this stuff before, is that if Hezbollah is as mighty and powerful as they say they are with all the missiles and rockets they claim to have, well, why are they so frantic to get these shipments from Iran all the time? Why is Israel behaving like Hezbollah really doesn't have all these advanced missiles? Because they don't. And Israel just ratcheted up the attacks on Lebanon very recently, days ago, and the Lebanese government is belly aching. they want Hezbollah to disarm, otherwise Lebanon's going to be, ruined. And we know Hezbollah is not going to disarm. Okay? Now, Netanyahu's saying when Ramadan is over, he used the date about 2 weeks yesterday, I think, which is just about when Ramadan is over, April 9th. They're going to hit Rafah. Now, if he tells you they're going to hit on April 9th, it doesn't mean they're going to hit on April 9th. They could hit on April 1st. They could hit on April 23rd, but it's coming. Probably, I would say, within a week after Ramadan. It'll have a ground invasion. It'll be by air, by sea, and by ground. So this is going to escalate in Hezbollah. No doubt about it. Okay, the Hamas thing is still going on. We've captured hundreds and hundreds of soldiers that surrendered while we captured them. And killed a bunch, and they're spilling all kinds of intel. So Israel just blew up yesterday a 2.5 kilometer long tunnel. That's a big tunnel. Let me put it in miles for you. 6.6. It's a 1.5 mile long tunnel. Imagine that, a tunnel 1.5 miles long. It got blown up. It's gone. They keep capturing weapons and things like this. Buildings belonging to the government, that big houses of the leaders of Hamas and PIJ have had their houses blown up with the occupants in it. Frequently you read of, 10 to 25 people getting killed. These are big houses. And this is, of course, what a lot of the genocide talk is coming from. They blow the house up and the families are there with the terrorists. So I guess the idea is to keep the terrorists out of their houses and force them to live underground and impair their ability to lead by putting a lot of pressure on them. This is also designed to push the peace treaty forward in a favorable way for Israel. Now, they're hanging on, the Hamas is hanging on, waiting for the cavalry in the form of the nations in the UN that hate Israel to come to their rescue. So as long as this keeps going on, they're probably not going to agree to any reasonable ceasefire. Netanyahu and the military are aware of that, and they intend to push into Rafah. They've already been surrounding it now. And they may not wait for the end of Ramadan. I don't know. But they're going to go in. If they say 2 weeks, they may do it in a week, just to confuse the Arabs. I don't know. And when they devastate the Rafah area, well, that's the end of Hamas. They have 4 battalions there that are functional, which might make a maximum of 10,000. They might make a minimum of, 6,000 or something like that. So it's probably between 6,000 and 10,000. It'll be an awkward fight. There'll be a lot of civilian casualty. Israel bought 40,000 tents to move them. Now, mind you, a lot of their families are going to be 6-8 people. So you're not going to be moving 40,000 people. You're going to be moving, I would say, at least 200,000, which is nothing compared to a possible 1.5 million. it's a big problem, and Israel is trying to not kill a lot of civilians, but a lot of them are probably not going to move to safer parts, and Hamas is probably threatening them. We know who you are, and when it's over, we'll kill you and your family if you leave. You're our human shields, and blah, 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 blah. Hezbollah doesn't use human shields because they are not the government of Lebanon. So they're not able to do that. Many people in Lebanon in the last few days have evacuated up to the north of Lebanon, further away from the border. So they know it's coming over there. Okay, so I don't see a civil war coming to Israel anytime soon. I don't see where it would come from. People are starting to talk about it. I'm not seeing it. People in Israel are pretty united against Hamas and Hezbollah. There's slight deviations. We want to make a deal, get our hostages back, and give them the prisoners from Gaza. We don't care. And, that's usually the families and friends and sympathizers of the hostages. And the other people are saying, we can't do that. If you release 5,000 of these murderers, they're going to run into the West Bank and Gaza and just keep killing us again. It's the stupidest thing we could do. They're right. And Biden is mucking it up big time. Biden and all the countries of the world, I can't think of a single one that wants Israel to go in and destroy Rafah. There's not one country that I could see anywhere that has said they want Israel to win this war. Not one. Not one. They want that to not happen so Hamas could stay there, and they'll fund the daylights out of Hamas with their worthless paper money from all over the world. And Hamas and Egypt will let them smuggle weapons in tunnels, and they'll rebuild tunnels. And basically, it's their hope, the great satanic hope, to destroy Israel, so they don't have to go risk war with Israel themselves and see what Jehovah does to them. But Jehovah will punish them for supporting Hamas as if they were Hamas. They become a partaker in the sins of Hamas. Okay? So they're afraid to go in. All right? So what Biden is doing is he's showing Israel they're going to not veto things that pop up in the UN Security Council because Israel's not listening to the President of the United States. Now, Netanyahu was supposedly sending a delegation to visit America and talk to the Department of Defense right after Biden. He didn't veto, he abstained. But now Netanyahu is saying, no, that's not true. I'm not sending any delegation there. Netanyahu is dead bent on getting even with Biden and defying Biden. And he has already begun to do that. Okay? I have not seen him hook up with Trump yet to badmouth Biden strategically, but I imagine it's on the way. I can't imagine that Trump would ignore such an opportunity, but I can't imagine that Netanyahu has his hands full right now with the war and the ultra-Orthodox and all these issues, and Biden, that he doesn't have time for Trump. He might be afraid to go to Trump because then Biden will really turn on him, but Biden has to be careful. See, Netanyahu goes to Trump and they, badmouth Biden, and Trump says all the great things he'll do for Israel and all this stuff, which he may or may not do, but he's probably prophetically, I don't believe it's time for another election. So then Biden may get worse with Israel, but that could backfire on Biden, because then Netanyahu and Trump will say, because I decided to back Trump instead of Biden, he's punishing Israel. You see, does Netanyahu think like this? Yes. Is he capable of doing harsh things? Yeah, oh yeah. He's a very mean, vindictive person who is going to try to pay back America for what they've done to Israel. Okay? And he will find a way to do it and hurt Biden. And Biden should have seen this coming, but he didn't. It's a headline in the papers today in Israel. It said that Netanyahu is spending too much of his time in his own political agenda, with the Orthodox not pushing the war. And the people are sick of him. He lies to America, and they're sick of him. He lies to the ultra-Orthodox, and they're sick of him. And he lies to the Israeli public at large, and they're sick and tired of him. So the odds of getting rid of Netanyahu are escalating by the day. They're going up and up and up. And the Muslims may very well, in fact, attack us if we do a vote of no confidence and Netanyahu loses on that vote. They may attack right when we switch. They could. Will it do them any good? No, because the military will take care of it. They don't need Netanyahu, But the Arabs don't know that. Nasrallah's coming out with a speech sometime this afternoon or in the early evening to discuss some holiday coming up. Things have been very quiet over Ramadan, relatively speaking, but now comes Russia, who just got hit by I believe, according to him, they're Muslim-oriented terrorists, ISIS or something, that were retreating to go to Ukraine when the Russian forces picked them up. And Putin has implicated Ukraine in this. I don't know how much evidence there is and what Putin knows, and he's not talking about it. I don't know. But what the ships are, it's a missile ship, a warship that shoots missiles. I don't know how many it holds. It probably can shoot at least a dozen missiles without reloading the tubes, maybe 16 like Americans. And a frigate, which is a general warship, like a military cruiser or something like that. Okay? The frigate is probably there to protect the missile cruiser while it's launching, as well as protect itself. It's not much of a flotilla, or a serious flotilla would have been 6 vessels, or at least 4. So, what's he going to do with these missiles? One military article I read said that he might be on the way to the Mediterranean with these 2 ships. No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. If he wanted to go to the Mediterranean, just go to the Mediterranean. He wouldn't do that. Okay? No. He's there for what's going on in Yemen. That's it. Okay? Now, what is going on in Yemen from the point of view of Russia? Well, the Houthis are supported by Iran, which Putin has a mutual defense treaty with, as does China. Um, but on the 23rd of this month, March, a Chinese ship was hit and damaged by the Houthis when they just got finished making a deal with China that their warships would not get attacked by the Houthis in the Red Sea. Okay? And it was. And a little bit before then, a Russian ship was attacked by the Houthis, and they're saying it was a mistake. Well, if it's a mistake, Putin might be going over there with his warships to make sure there are no more mistakes. Plus, Putin has a problem with the Islamic population in Russia that may rise up against him. It's not, I don't think, a crucial, critical, maximum threat to him right now, like NATO, but he's probably concerned about that to some extent. So, just having a catastrophic attack by Islamic terrorists in Russia has got him up in arms, I'm sure. So he's right over there near Yemen. I mean, and it must be with the American coalition and people that are not they might be 15, 18 warships around there. I'm going to be back in a minute. Quick break, and we're going to discuss what Putin's options are. The most obvious answer is Putin is trying to send a warning to the Houthis that they better not make mistakes and attack Chinese and Russian ships and then say, whoops, we're sorry. The threat would be that he would attack them with missiles. The frigate is there to protect the missile cruiser. The missile cruiser is there to protect Russian shipping of oil and grain and things like that as a very bad threat to the Houthis. But the Houthis don't seem to give a hoot. American warships are probably better than the Russians, and they're attacking them, the actual warships themselves. Iran is probably not happy to see this. They're friends, you know. So is it possible, because the Houthis have been raising forces and training to go to Gaza and help Hamas actually travel to Gaza, is it possible that Russia is there to help this? Not with 2 warships, with 8 and 25 aircraft maybe, but not with 2 warships, no. It's a joke. Are they there to protect the Houthis from the likes of America, the UK, India, and other places? And, you know, maybe. The only ones that are really attacking the Houthis in Yemen are America and the UK. So Russia doesn't have enough. I mean, UK and America have to have at least, aside from an aircraft, they probably have 7, 8 vessels. They have an aircraft carrier there. And there's no way these 2 Russian ships would survive more than 15, 30 minutes in a conflict with America and the UK. UK has warships there too, 1 or 2. So that's like, you know, that's just a show. I dare you to attack my ships. But if they do, the Russian ships are going to go down to the bottom of the Red Sea. Maybe the Houthis are going to cut the internet cables, disabling the SWIFT system with the international banking. And maybe Putin is ready with his BRICS money transfer system so they can do transfers amongst themselves, while a large portion of the world, particularly Middle East, India, parts of Africa, parts of Europe, are unable to send banking wire transfers. And he wants to protect the Houthis after that happens. But, I mean, it's not a real protection. It's just a psychological barrier that Biden doesn't have enough guts to do anything. The other line of thought is Russia sees Biden's not backing Israel, and he may come over and try to help some of these enemies of Israel attack Israel. One way would be to protect the Houthis attacking, to travel into Gaza, but it's not enough of them to do that. You know, it doesn't, nobody really seems to have a good understanding of what Putin's up to. The best is that they hit a Russian ship and they hit a Chinese ship, and he wants to make sure that doesn't go on, which tells us he doesn't know much about the Houthis. Okay, he just doesn't. And he's scared because he just took a very substantial 143 dead and many more wounded terrorist attack inside Russia from Islamic-oriented terrorists. So he's worried. Maybe he found some sort of tie-in with these terrorists and the Houthis, and he wants to go and, you know, drop a few missiles on the Houthis to teach them a lesson. But I doubt this. I think it's there because they fired on a Chinese ship, they fired on a Russian ship, and he wants to make sure that doesn't happen again. Or maybe he's there to protect Yemen and the Houthis from the likes of America and UK. I don't know. China is going to watch very closely this business of the Russian warships in the Red Sea, and they want to make sure the US and UK don't blow them out of the water. And if it seems to be working and they're bluffing America down, China would probably send someplace between 2 and 4 ships over also, warships. And they'll unite with the Russians too, so they'll have, I don't know, I'd say maybe 5, 6, 7 together, something like that. And that'd be a flotilla of substance to contend with. So if America and UK decided to engage them in an attack, they would have air superiority from the aircraft carriers and the advanced stealth jets and submarines and things like that. But the Russians are capable of damaging and even sinking 1 or 2 warships of the other side before they go down. So it's going to be at a big price. Now, there's unconfirmed reports that we know Russia has a limited amount of troops in the Golan Heights on the Syrian side, but it's not thousands. It's much, much smaller number. And I heard, and I don't know how true it is, that they're flying flights with Russian aircraft over the Golan Heights. The idea would be to stop Israel from shooting missiles conveniently into Syria from the Golan Heights, which just means Israel will shoot from another location. That's all. But this could be behind it. Let me look at the chat for a very quick second and see if I've got to throw the garbage out. Let's see what we got. It seems pretty peaceful here. Bro is yapping. Well, we don't need people like that. Okay, so Israel has turmoil within. We're fighting Syria every other day or so. We attack something in Syria, IRGC. We killed some high-ranking IRGC, that's Iranian military, in Syria, and Iran said they're going to revenge us. I mean, they always say that, If you listen to Iran, they could in 15 minutes conquer a combined army consisting of America, NATO, China, Russia, Indonesia, and everybody else, They're just liars, okay? They're just a terrorist state obsessed with death and domination, and they're liars. That's it. You can't listen to them. Every time you turn around, we have a new missile base up on Mars. We could shoot hypersonic missiles within 5 meters anywhere on the Earth at a speed of Mach 75. They'll tell you anything. Anything. They'll tell you they made an alliance with the Venetians that live on Venus to come down here with their ray guns and annihilate Israel. They really don't know when to stop lying. They never really said these things, but they're so absurd. Every time you turn around, they got a new weapon. Really? And they give these weapons to who? Hezbollah and the Houthis, right? And Hamas, how well have they been doing in pushing their wars against Israel? Not very well. The Houthis have to send all kinds of ordnance after ships, and they sink 2 ships so far out of attacking 100 or something, or 70 or whatever it was. I don't know. Where are these great weapons, Iran? Where are they? Are they hidden in your popcorn? Do you have them under your sofa? Where are they? You see what I'm saying? Israel blew up their gas pipeline a few weeks ago. What happened? Nothing. Has Iran ever launched a single missile into Israel? No. Could they? If they had one, they could. They couldn't. They're lucky if they could get the missile across the Persian Gulf. Come on. Why do you think they're moving weapons into Syria, which is on the border of Israel, to hit Israel, and they go into Syria to smuggle it into Lebanon? Why are they doing that? Because they can't hit missiles from Iran. It's a joke. They can't hit from Iraq either. And the Hezbollah, we got 250,000 missiles. We got thousands and thousands of ballistic missiles that are aimable and smart and potent, and we could fly missiles into your bedroom window. And they don't say that, but where are they? Where are they? The other day, they shot 50 missiles into Israel. 46 landed in open fields, and 4 were shot down by the Iron Dome. Where are these missiles? Would Israel behave like this towards Hezbollah if they really had all these missiles? When you read about these missiles, it's not the generals in the Israeli Defense Forces coming out and giving you an official statement pertaining to the armament that Hezbollah has. They don't say anything. It's the media. It's nonsense. You think 30 or 31,000 people really got killed in Gaza? I think it's probably less than half of that. They inflate this. Look at these people. They make their bases in hospitals. They use ambulances for official Hamas vehicles. They read the list of war crimes, and it must be they read the list of war crimes and say, oh, let's do this, let's do this. That's their suggestion box, war crimes. Let's rape the women repeatedly. Let's throw a baby in an oven. Let's cut a fetus out of a woman alive. This is what they did to us. And the UN's turning against us. America's turning against us. In the Bible, it says in Jeremiah 50, verse 24, I shall read it to you. Now, you want to shoot the messenger, go ahead, but I didn't write it. I'm just reading it to you. You want to go have an issue with Father God Jehovah, man, go ahead. See how well you do. I have laid a snare for thee, thou art also taken, O Babylon. Now, this is the daughter of Babylon. And if you don't understand America is the daughter of Babylon, that's a whole other lengthy Bible study. But if you look around in my YouTube channel, going to the live section, you'll find many, many videos. And just look for daughter of Babylon videos, and it'll be explained to you. Thou that are also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware, thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Jehovah. Okay? Now, let me read you Isaiah 47, a couple of verses in there. I'm not going to read the whole chapter. It starts off in verse 1, come down and sit in the dust, virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called called tender and delicate. Chaldeans were the people that lived in old Babylon. They were witches, sorcerers, spellcasters, cursers. They served the unclean spirits, just like the American heads of state, heads of businesses, political office holders, and all that. All right, now let's go into trying to show you in the Bible here what's happening to Biden, or basically the government of the United States. The snare is not on Joe Biden, it's on the United States. If Biden had a heart attack or resigned or got killed or couldn't work anymore, it wouldn't stop the snare. Verse 8, therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasure, thou dwelling carelessly, that sayest in thy heart, I am, and none else is beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. That's a descriptor to a T of America. But the days of sitting, carelessly, those days are pretty much gone. This is the end of their days. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day: the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. In other words, they're knowledgeable in the dark arts, but not in anything good. Dark arts, witchcraft. And thou hast said in thy heart, I am and none else beside me. Therefore, now listen to this and tell me this is not. I want you to bear in mind Taiwan. With all the every day or almost every day the Taiwanese people wake up and they're surrounded by, 5, 6, 7, 8 Chinese warships and 20, 30, 40, 50 planes from China violating their airspace. North Korea shooting test missiles into territorial waters belonging to Japan and South Korea and scaring them and threatening them constantly, along with the Philippines threatening them. And NATO and Russia threatening NATO constantly and attacking Ukraine for real constantly, or 2 years plus now. Right? Now let's read this next passage. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. And mischief, that's the same, what's a word that means evil, like evil. Mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, when thou shalt not know. Stand now with thy enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayst prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. That means that Biden's running around talking to this one and that one, and they're telling him what to do and it ain't working. Let now thy astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly procrastinators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Behold, they shall be as stubble, the fire shall burn them, they shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. When you read Jeremiah 50 and 51, it says he's going to kindle fires in and around their cities. America's going to be burned up. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto thee, with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander, every one to his quarter, none shall save thee. This is the immigrants in America, not immigrants, but could be the ones that just come over there, they work there, they drive taxis, agricultural workers. They're going to go back very shortly to their own country. Now, not only does America have the trouble with Taiwan, the Philippines, South Korea, and they're trying to protect Japan also, and they got the problem in Europe with NATO. They got Iran, and they got Iranian-backed militias in Iraq and Syria attacking their bases in Syria and Iraq. They must have been, and their embassy consulates, they must have been hit 100 times since October 7th. And American ships are getting attacked by the Houthis. And they don't know what the heck to do about Israel. They don't know. And Biden is going to go after Netanyahu. And if you think Biden can't hurt Netanyahu, I mean, if Netanyahu cannot hurt Biden, you're wrong. I'm telling you, Netanyahu is evil, deceitful. He can't get to sleep at night, like the Bible says, unless he's concocting some evil. He is capable and competent of messing with Biden in a big way. Now, he's not going to send soldiers or Mossad over there or anything like that. He's going to hit Biden in the newspapers, in the press, in the media. He will hurt Biden. And Biden will hurt him back. And they're going to do evil to Israel. It's in Bible prophecy. In our sight, they're going to put troops here. What do you think the pier down by Gaza is for? It's to land troops right into Gaza to force a ceasefire. That's what that's about. The idea of saying it's for humanitarian aid is malarkey. It's nonsense. The ships come, they transfer the load to small ships because it's a shallow water pier they're going to put in, pretty much. Small boats offload the cases of humanitarian aid with forklifts and cranes, and they put it on the dock, and then what? Well, they put it in a truck. And then the trucks are going to go into Gaza and distribute it, and the people of Gaza, the civilians, are going to attack the trucks to steal the food. And Hamas is going to attack those stealing the food, and they're going to steal the food. Or they'll have the food go in a UNWRA warehouse, which they control with their own people, and then they'll steal the food. So you're going to accomplish nothing. What about the parachuting at the beach? Well, that gets the food in the hands of some of the people, not up in the north or the center, but in the south. Or whatever beach they're using, I should say, because it could be central or north, whatever beach they use. But the problem is, as just the way the world is, the beaches are obviously on the coast of the Mediterranean, and it's windy. So the planes come, and they push the packages out with parachutes at a reasonable altitude. Parachutes deploy, I assume, automatically when you shove them out the plane. And the winds blow these things, and they land in the water. Then the Gazans get in little rowboats, fishing boats, and go after the packages in the water. But they're not flotation device things. Now, in World War II, American air crews would crash in the water from bombing raids. They'd fly someplace, do a bombing raid, and then they got hit with flak and fighter jets, and they had 4 engines. They're down to 3 or 2, and they can't make it, and they throw all the stuff out of the plane to gain for less weight, and then the engines are burning, whatever, it's not working. So they touch down in the water. They can't help it, right? And these planes had, the bomber planes had survival kits in them, you know? And assuming all the guys in the plane weren't wounded and busted up, as soon as the plane landed in the water, if it didn't break up, they had a few minutes. Maybe they had, 10 or 20 minutes before the plane went down. Planes are hollow. They would be floating. And they had kits in the plane, right? And these were large rafts. They usually have at least 2 of them. And inside the raft, they had very cleverly created survival supplies. They had fishing line and fishing hooks. They had food. They had drinking water. They had stimulant, benzodrine, dexedrine pills. They had sunburn salve. They had signal mirrors, life preservers. Some of these rafts, they could put a cover on so they would be out of the rain and the sun. And basically, they had transmitter radios to send a signal and different things like this, right? And before they would go down, they would radio their coordinates. So the American rescue ships would be able to find them. They didn't have to look over, 800 square miles. They'd fly pattern grids, and they'd keep flying for days till they found them. And then when they found them, what they did is they had more of these rafts with survival equipment in the plane, and they would throw them out, and these things would float when they hit the water. You got it? A flotation device containing the food. Did I make my point? Flotation device. They also developed aircraft that could land in the water. So when they found the crew, and they were lucky enough to have one of these, it was usually a double-engine plane that could land in the water, they would land maybe a quarter of a mile, a half a mile away from the guys in their rescue rafts, and then they would paddle out to the plane, and they'd pull them in the plane and give them, water and food and medical, and take them home. But if they weren't that fortunate, the guys that found them first would throw a few of these rafts out at them, and these things would hit the water and float. I don't think they ever killed anybody with one of these things, okay? That's World War II America, much different caliber of person. And they would give them an excess of rafts because they knew they needed the extra water and the food in there and stuff like that. Then they had their precise coordinates, and they would send one of these other planes, a seaplane that would land and pick them up, or a submarine would pick them up, or a ship. Fighter planes were another story. They were small inside, and the guy had a little inflatable raft that was hooked up to his parachute kit. So if he had to bail out, it automatically went with him. Then a life preserver too. And then that would inflate, and it was small. It was probably 3 feet long by 2 feet wide or something like that. And it had a very limited amount of survival equipment in it. He was just, one guy. So they had enough survival stuff for one guy, but these big bombers had, sometimes 8 or 12 people, so they had different setups. Anyway, so why don't they find a way to use a flotation device to send the food down, right? And put it offshore by 200 meters and let them go out in boats and get it or something. I don't know. So they made mistakes. It was going in the water. Guys drowned the other day trying to dive down into the bottom of the ocean and pull the food up. And a lot of the food would get soggy and be useless because it had salt water in it and stuff like that. So they got the bright idea that what we're going to do is we're going to do low altitude parachute drops of humanitarian aid over Gaza. And what they managed to accomplish was humanitarian aid genocide, because the chutes weren't opening, and the stuff would land and hit the people on the beach. They came in low, because if they came in high, the chutes opened and the wind blew the stuff out to sea. So it's, we'll come in low. So they come in low, the chutes didn't open, and it were killing people, hitting them there. I think they might have killed 15 people by now. So putting the stuff from a big boat to a little boat to the pier to a truck accomplishes absolutely nothing. They can land all the humanitarian aid they want in Egypt and truck it in. They can land it in Israel and truck it in. Israel wouldn't say no. They could land it and just drive it in. This is unnecessary. Why are they putting it there? To put American troops in Gaza. The whole story about the pier and humanitarian aid makes no sense. The pier's not going to be up for at least another 3 or 4 weeks. Then they got to first send ships. You think they're dumb enough to send ships before the pier is built so they can have the ship moored offshore, hoping the pier works out? I don't know. That sounds pretty stupid, but they might. Is there a chance Hamas would blow the pier up? Yeah. Why? Blame it on Israel. One good reason. Hope to start a war between America and Israel. Second good reason, they got plenty of food themselves. And they have more than they need, and they're selling it to the civilians in Gaza for exorbitantly high prices and making a killing. Why do they want that to stop? If the food actually gets correctly distributed, all these cries about people starving to death, which isn't true, I don't think a single person starved to death, are going to fall on deaf ears, and the cries for genocide to stop the war are going to go away. I could think of a lot of reasons why they want to blow the pier up. They're not going to blow the pier up until the pier starts functioning. Then they'll blow it up. How can they blow it up? Well, a few anti-tank missiles would probably 2 or 3 hits would take the pier out. Of course, you could rebuild the pier. You can, they take it out and they do repairs and it functions again, and then they take it out. If they could manage to get missile launches off, then they could really take it out. But, they need a big warhead, This is not a solid, concrete, serious pier. It's a temporary pier. It's not anything that's going to be hard to take out. I've been at piers with cruise ships where they're a good quarter of a mile long. They're probably 50, 60 feet wide at least, maybe 100. They're made out of thick, heavy concrete with pylons and everything else. You want to start taking that out, you're going to start having to hit it with 500-pound bombs several times in multiple locations to get the pylons to fall down and stuff like that. And then it's going to take months to repair it. Superficial damage to a big permanent pier is going to be like damaging an airplane runway. They'll fix it in 2 or 3 days or less. If you land 3 500-pound warheads or 500-pound bombs on one of these big, thick piers, you're going to probably create all kinds of stress cracks and damages. It's going to be very iffy to keep using the pier, America will do bad things to Israel. I'll have to show it to you now in the verses. Let me look them up. I'll give you one good one I'll give you like 3, I think. Okay, Jeremiah 51:24. Remember, Daughter of Babylon's America. There's no doubt about it. I don't see anybody that ever made a valid argument against that. Jeremiah 51:24, and I will render unto Babylon, an actual text in the Hebrew is Babel, which means confusion, and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea. That's just the way God's marking, because the Chaldeans lived in the old Babylon. And the reason he refers to them that way is because they're serving the same unclean spirits. And to all the inhabitants, they're eternally unclean spirits, you know. And to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, all their evil that they have done in Zion, all the evil. What is the word for evil? Ra'ah, bad or evil. Let me see how Strong's flips it into English. No, it means bad or evil. It means evil. All the evil they have done in Zion, which is Israel, in your sight, saith the Lord. So we're going to see it here. So it's when it says in your sight, don't think it's delaying an arms shipment or not sending arms or vetoing at the UN in New York. That's not in our sight. In our sight is they're going to have troops in Israel. Get with the program. And this is probably going to be the height of their iniquity. The straw that broke their camel's back, and then you're going to start seeing the destruction of America. And the true believers and the Israelites will get out. Okay. Next verse. Jeremiah 51:60. Jeremiah 51, verse 60. That's a big chapter. Whoa, where'd it go? So Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evil that should come upon Babel, even these words that are written against Babel. Well, that just shows you what's happening to the daughter of Babylon. And I have another one. Jeremiah 50, verse 44. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan unto the habitation of the strong. The habitation of the strong is Israel. The swelling of the Jordan is where the Jordan River meets the Sea of Galilee, which is, 5-7 miles away from where I'm sitting right now. But I will make them suddenly run away from her being Israel. And who is the chosen man that I may appoint over her? For who is like me? And who will appoint me the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? It's here, I believe it's speaking of Elijah, one of the two witnesses. It could also be including the other witness, Apostle John. So it appears America's inside Israel, near Jordan, not so far from Syria. in the north of Israel by the Sea of Galilee, a good distance from Lebanon, like, 35 miles, probably 25 miles. And it has troops there. And this ain't Gaza. Swelling of the Jordan is, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours by car to get to Gaza at least. So you could get the magnitude of the evil they're going to do in Israel. Do evil in your sight does not mean they're coming over there to help us fight our wars. No. When we attacked Gaza, Biden warned all these other countries not to open up another front against us. Has Lebanon done that? Absolutely. Did Biden do anything about it? Not a thing. Has Syria opened up another front against us? Not really. Have the Houthis? Sort of. What these Muslim terrorists did do is they have a front inside the West Bank of Israel. Nablus, Jenin, Hebron. And they're fighting with Israeli soldiers daily with rifles, improvised explosive devices, and other things. It's constant. It's every day it's going on. So, minimally you have a full front with Hezbollah, another one with Hamas, a slight front with Syria, and something from the Houthis. But what the Houthis are doing is putting tremendous pressure on Biden to turn on Israel and just tell Israel, shut up and listen to me. Boom, boom, boom. He doesn't want to deploy 100,000 to 300,000 troops in Yemen to stop this, while he has a threat from China with Taiwan and North Korea with South Korea and Putin with Ukraine and NATO countries and Europe. And he don't want to do that. He's scared. He doesn't want to do that. So it's easier to just pressure Israel. And that's what he's doing. And not only will he turn his back on Israel, he's going to attack Israel from within. He's going to put troops in Israel and do evil. There were pictures of Air Force One the other day, and I think 2 days ago, and Biden and Obama walked off Air Force One together. What was really going on is Obama's helping Biden campaign. That's what it is. They don't have to get together in person to do, evil. They do it on the phone. Biden has secure phone lines, and Obama, being a former U.S. president, I'm sure has access to those too. So he could talk to Biden. So he's probably been telling Biden what to do to some extent, or advising him for a long time. All right, give me a few seconds to see what kind of madness I got in the chat here. There's no Jehovah, that's God. I'm in the Galilee of Israel. All right, we got a prayer request for LN, needs a place to live. For LN, needs a place to live. I removed the post for your privacy. I did not block you. Okay. Two more things I want to cover today. One is I want to show you where in the Bible, in several places in the Old Testament, it says Yeshua in prophecy passages, the name of God's Son, the Messiah, Yeshua. Now, normally you read the root of Yeshua's name is Yasha, which means salvation. Yeshua doesn't mean salvation. It has a high connotation to that, but Yasha is the word. So if you go to the rabbis, they're going to say, oh, Yeshua just means connotation. No, it means salvation. No, Yasha means salvation. It's different, built on the root of Yasha. So I will show you some of these scriptures, and this has been concealed. And I never hear the churches talk about this or anything like that. The rabbis certainly don't. And then the next thing I'm going to do is talk to you. People are talking to me about moving to Israel now. Well, they know the second Exodus is coming soon, and I agree it is. Next few weeks or months. It's not going to be years or anything. And some are thinking of just moving here. So I'm going to discuss with you the mechanics of moving here, what's involved, what the expenses are here, and all these kind of things. Visas and legalities and working and stuff like that. Isaiah 25 verse 9. And it shall be said in that day, lo, this is our Elohim, which is God. We have waited for him, and he will save us. He will save us. And that word is Yasha. Okay? That is not Yeshua. It's Yud Shen Ayin. Yasha. That's the salvation word. It's Strong's number 3467. Yasha us, or salvation us. This is Jehovah, we have waited for him. He will be glad and rejoice. We will be glad and rejoice. And then it says, in his salvation. Now, the Yasha word is Strong's number 3467 in the Hebrew. The salvation word here is Strong's number 3444 in the Hebrew, which is Yeshua. 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 Who's Yeshua? Well, there's no J in the Hebrew alphabet, so his name can't really be Jesus. It's Yeshua, the Messiah, the firstborn Son of God, who rose from the dead, seated on the right hand of God the Father until his enemies are made his footstool. Am I specific enough? That Yeshua. So let's break the words down here because the English is adding phraseology in here that's not in the original text, okay? So we'll start. We have waited. Let's look at that word, waited. 6960 kava. Expected, looking for, waiting, expected. And the words, what it's really saying, Elohim, Elohim, or they're saying lo, which is hine, which hine is not lo. There's that song they sang in the Messianics. It's hine Yeshua Hamelech Israel. It's saying hine Yeshua. Here comes Yeshua, the King of Israel. So lo is really hine, so it means here comes, and then it says ze, which means this. So here comes this. That's what it's really saying. Here comes this Elohim. Okay, then they say we have waited for, which is, expected or waited for. So it's here comes this Elohim waited for. Elohim is a plural word for God, okay? We've expected, and for him is not in there. They added that in. And he will save us is not in there. And it's just saying Yahshua, salvation. We have waited or expected salvation. Hine, here comes Zay, our Elohim God, expected salvation. You're getting the real meaning of what this is saying? This, and then it says Zay again. Like if your name was Clark and I was going to introduce you to someone, I say Zay Clark. This is Clark. Okay. And he will save us. And that's Yasha, salvation us. I said that. Zay Yehovah, the Lord, Yehovah. We have waited for, again, kavar, expected. And then it goes off with the whole tirade. For him will we be glad. No, it doesn't say that. It says gal, rejoice. And then it says rejoice in his salvation. It doesn't say that. It says rejoice, Yeshua. Rejoice in Yeshua or with Yeshua. In Yeshua means you're his. His name ain't Jesus, kids. And his father's name ain't Jehovah. It's Yehovah, Yud-He-Vav-He, and Yeshua. This is Yeshua right in there. We're going to rejoice in Yeshua. Aren't you going to rejoice in Yeshua? You see what crap all the English translations are? They're all crap. Every one of them. I never saw a good one. Okay, let's go some more places. I hope you're enjoying this. You should be. Genesis 49:18. Yeshua there. Wow. Let's go there. Genesis 49:18. I have waited for thy salvation. Okay, now they're adding a lot of words in here, so let's break it down. Look for or expected. Look for or expected who? I kid you not. Yeshua. In Genesis. In Genesis. In Genesis. Expected Yeshua. It says Yeshua. O Lord, O Jehovah. Gad, a troop, shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. Sounds like Yeshua. Okay. I've expected Yeshua, O Jehovah. Well, it doesn't really say that. It says Jehovah. Let me look at this in the Hebrew for a minute to see if it says O Jehovah or something else. I better look at this more carefully. Hold on. They have it a little bit screwed up here. It's saying La Yeshatek. I guess it's waiting. Yeshua is in there. Yeshatek. So I guess it's waiting for Yeshua or expecting Yeshua. And it talks about Jehovah, but okay. It's a form of Yeshua in there, it's what it is. Let me go back to King James for a minute. And let me take a quick look at something. I think they messed with the Hebrew text in this. I'm not sure. I haven't caught that yet, ever. No, Ki Yeshuti. Yeah, it's got. Let me take a quick look around on this for a minute. they seem to be covering this up. All right, let me go get a couple others. I don't have an exhaustive list. I just found a few. Psalm 9:14. That I may show forth all thy praise in the gates of the daughter of Zion. See, we're the daughter of Zion. America's the daughter of Babel. You get how he talks like that. Okay. How he references. And then it says, thy praise in the gate of the daughter of Zion, the gates of the daughter of Zion. I will rejoice, and the word for rejoice is gal. And then we have the Yeshua word. See, they didn't know that Yeshua was the name of the Messiah in the Old Testament. Clearly, I imagine some of them figured it out, but not a lot of them. I wouldn't think. No, in the text here, I don't see Moshe. No, I don't see his name actually in the text here. They just... No, this one, they translated it wrong. I don't see Yeshua in the Hebrew, so forget that one. So that's Psalm 9:14. I don't believe really has it there. Psalm 91:16. Let's see if it's really there. Psalm 91:16. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my Yeshua. Okay, let's check the Hebrew to see what's really going on. Yeah, it has Yeshua here. It says Yeshua. So it's Yeshua. It's referencing to Yeshua. It has a connotation of in Yeshua, with the ba in there. So it's saying, the whole phrase is saying Auric, which means length or long. Life should be, what the heck? It doesn't say long life. It sort of implies it. It's yom, it's day. So it's saying long or length. He's saying length of days. Okay, length of days. That's what he's saying. Long life. Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, it's not literal, but you know. Then it says satisfied, Shiva, satisfied or satiated, and show, look, and okay, with length of days, satiate, and show. The word for show is really meaning look or see. Strong's number 7200. Yeshua. That it's like my Yeshua. So he's saying they'll see with length of days, satiate, look, Yeshua. Okay? I want to check something. 1 second. Okay. So it does appear a few times. I'll try to get some time and do a more exhaustive study as to where all that it appears like this. And remember, all the rabbis will do is say, oh no, it just means something else, you know. Let's see what's going on in here in the chat. The Isaiah one, what was the verse? Okay. You had it, Isaiah 25:9. Isaiah 25, verse 9. Third temple's not already been built. The third temple comes down from heaven, and that is not New Jerusalem. Okay? I'll give you a quick course in that, because it was a valid question. Ezekiel 37, verse 26. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. Speaking of Israel, Yeshua is literally the peace offering, which is a lamb. The sin offering is a steer. It shall be, wait a second. It shall be a everlasting covenant. Well, Yeshua has everlasting life. We'll have everlasting life. Why not? Right? With them. And I will place them. The word place is Strong's number 5414 in the Hebrew. And will multiply them. And then it says, we'll set my sanctuary or temple. The word is Mikdash, temple. Mishkan is the tabernacle. But let's say, since the word set is the same word, 5414, as used a few words previously, let's use it the same way as place, because they're trying to deceive you. And multiply them, and will place my temple in the midst of them forevermore. God's going to place the temple in the midst of us forevermore. This is the house not built with human hands. Okay, now let's keep going. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yes. 2 Maccabees 2, chapter 2 explains how Jeremiah hid the tabernacle in a cave and covered up the openings so no one could find it. and it has the ark with it, and it has the altar of incense, probably incense too, temple incense. And my tabernacle also shall be with them. Yea, I will be their Elohim, their God, and they shall be my people. And the heathen, the heathen, shall know that I am Jehovah, that I, Jehovah, do sanctify, and that's Kadosh, make holy, Israel, when my Mikdash, my temple, shall be in the midst of them forevermore. So, if a bunch of rabbis went ahead and built the temple, would the heathen say, oh, look, they built a temple, they rented the equipment from John Deere and everything, God must be sanctifying or making them holy, making Israel holy? Of course not. But if the temple came down from heaven, then it would work. Read Ezekiel chapters 40 to 48. Heavy emphasis on chapter 43. And we're just given the rules and the ordinances of the next temple, the law of the next temple, it says, because we don't build it. We don't build it. And we build the altar. It gives us the details on how to build the altar. Moses got the details. What's his? Oh, thank you. Moses got the details on how to build the tabernacle because he built it. And he had people helping him that God anointed. And we don't have that. We don't get that because we don't build it. And this is not New Jerusalem. New Jerusalem's a completely different thing that comes later. And we'll have the tabernacle. Probably first before the temple. You'll see that in the next few days, weeks, or maybe a handful of months or something. So it was a valid question, so I gave you a valid answer. Are they building a temple here in Israel? Absolutely not. Would I know it if they were? Absolutely. Nothing. Might they actually sacrifice a red heifer on the Mount of Olives on some altar they have? Yep. Is it going to mean anything? It's going to be one of two ways. It'll mean nothing, or it's going to bring the wrath of God down on these people that did it. One or the other. That's it. Okay? The temple goes on a Mount Zion. There is no Mount Zion. There used to be, many centuries ago, some invading army soldiers came with shovels and pickaxes and dismantled it so they couldn't build another temple. They don't ever talk about that, but it'll be back. Mount Zion will be back. God will build it. And God will give us that temple. So the temple's only going to take a couple of minutes. Well, we have to build the altar, and then we build gates around the temple. If you read Ezekiel 48, there's a gate around the temple. There was a wall with 12 gates, each gate named after one of the tribes of Israel, similar to New Jerusalem. And we have to make the altar, but the altar's not a great big job to do. You have to sanctify it for 8 days, but it's okay. Fine, we want to do it. It's a brazen altar, I believe. It's not going to be that difficult to build. And we decorate and embellish the temple with cedar and fir trees, which come from Lebanon, which I imagine will be ours by this time, and stuff like that. So, remember what Yeshua said in Matthew 5, think not that I came to destroy the law, but to fulfill it. And then the next verse says, for as long as there's a heaven and an earth, not one jot or tittle from the law will be done away with. And the one that teaches against the least of these commandments shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But the one that does all of them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. That's what Yeshua really said. If you want to listen to a bunch of goofballs with a big building and denominational affiliation, that teach otherwise, I have a scripture for you. I have a good one. Galatians 5:19 to 21. Galatians 5:19. Now the works of the flesh are these. Works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, no; fornication, no; uncleanness, no. They don't even know what that is in the church. Lasciviousness, that's like porn, strip joints, Idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance. What is variance? Well, I'll give you an example of variance. You create doctrinal statements for your churches that are different from church to church. So nobody knows what the heck the truth is, and nobody is united in the teachings of the apostles. They're scattered all over the place. Let's keep going. Emulations, wrath, strife, seditions. What seditions mean? Division. It's a perfect definition of a denomination. It's a division. Heresies. It's basically tied to seditions. Envyings, murders. So let's see. Variance, different doctrinal statements, and denominations is right in there with murders, drunkenness, revellings, and such, like of the which I tell you before, as I have told you in times past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. So you wouldn't murder, you wouldn't do adultery, you wouldn't do drunkenness, but you think it's okay to have different doctrinal statements and denominations, do you? You're very wrong. You're very wrong. Let me give you another quick example. John 6:39. And this is the Father's will which had sent me, that of all which he had given me I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again at the last day. That's obviously the rapture, raise it up. Let's see what the words actually mean. Oh, this is the Greek, you can't tell anything. Raise it up at the last day, or raise it up again. Now, what does the last day mean? The last day means there's no more days. Or it wouldn't be the last day. It's actually based on the law with the Feast of Tabernacles, 7 days, and then the last day. The millennium is the 7th day, and then comes the last day, or the last great day, the 8th day. After the millennium is over, in Revelation 20, it says Satan's released. He gathers them like the sand of the sea, surrounds Jerusalem and New Jerusalem, and then Father God from heaven comes down and burns the whole universe up. So we have nothing to stand on. So we meet him in the air and go up on the clouds of heaven to spend eternity with Father God, Jehovah, and Yeshua. He repeats this not only in John 6:39, in John 6:40, John 6:44, and John 6:54. So yes, the churches are teaching crap. Yes. They're teaching other gospels. Go ye forth into all the world and take money from those that want to enter into the kingdom of God and buy a big stupid building nobody benefits from. It's not the gospel. If you think that you could do the variance by saying pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib, we don't know which is right, we accept them all. Baptize in the Holy Spirit, not baptize in the Holy Spirit. Pray in tongues, don't pray in tongues. Immersion baptism, sprinkle baptism. So if you think any of these could be right, and it's okay to accept them all, you're doing variance. And if you're going to a denominational church, you're doing divisions or seditions. Remember, a house divided unto itself shall not stand. That's what this is. and you're participating in it. You're a partaker in it. You tithe to it. You go there. You tell people you're proud of it and all this. And they're teaching another gospel. And it says if you do this, you're not going to enter the kingdom of God. Now, if you don't believe that, you're calling God a liar. If you don't believe that, you're rejecting knowledge, and God's going to reject you. And if you want to shoot the messenger, you're missing the point. This is God telling you these things. I'm reading them. It's not the same thing. 2 Corinthians 11:4. For if he that cometh preacheth another Jesus, whom we have not preached, or you receive another spirit, which you have not received, that's getting an unclean spirit at the church, or another gospel, which ye have not accepted, you might well bear with him. But he says you're not going to enter the kingdom of God if you do these things. And is there an example of this where they're not actually entering the kingdom of God because of this? Yes, it's in Matthew 7, verses 22. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? Now, understand, there's no synagogue running around anywhere in the world where you're going to go in there and prophesy in the name of Yeshua. They're not going to throw you out or beat you up or throw things at you, okay? This is the church, okay? That day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? Now, they were calling him Lord, Lord, so they knew who Yeshua was. But remember, Yeshua said, faith without works is dead. The church tells you faith by itself is fine. The Bible tells you faith without works is dead. Who are you going to believe? The guy with the building or your Bible? Have we not prophesied in thy name? That's the church. And in thy name have cast out devils. They never do this in the synagogues. They never use this name. The Hindus don't use it. The Islam doesn't use it. The Buddhists don't use it. The atheists don't use it. Only the churches. And in thy name done many wonderful works. And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work iniquity. Okay? Iniquity means lawlessness, breaking the law. For as long as there's a heaven and an earth, whoops, I see the earth, I see trees, I see the sky, we have a heaven and an earth, not one jot or tittle shall depart from the law. Paul said, without the law you have no sin. That's what Satan's trying to do. Get no sin. If his name is Yeshua, why do you want to call him Jesus when there's no J in the alphabet? If Father God's Jehovah's name is Yehovah, Yud He Vav He, there's no J in the Hebrew alphabet, why would you want to consistently for many centuries keep calling him by a different name? Maybe the different name belongs to an unclean spirit, that's why. You want to make excuses? I could tell you there's tons of them. We're not perfect. Why should the church be perfect? Yeshua said he's coming back for a church without spot, wrinkle, or blemish. That's a good reason, wouldn't you think? So, you guys could reject the knowledge, and then he'll reject you. Or you can accept the knowledge, and you're going to be well on your way to be accepted by Yeshua. Well, we've already had 3 temples in the Bible. We've had Solomon's temple, Zerubbabel's temple, and we have had Herod's temple. So the next is number 4. I don't know why the churches keep trying to tell you number 3 is the next one. All right. I'm going to talk to you now. I'm getting people asking me about coming to Israel like right now. And for all I know, the Lord may be moving them over here right now. I don't know, one way or the other. I've lived here many years. I hail from the Bronx, New York. I've lived here many years, and I have seen a lot of successful moves to Israel, a lot, and I've seen some disaster moves. So I'll go through what the ins and outs are with this. I'm going to take a fast break. I'll come back and I'll go through the economics. Can you work? Houses, renting, buying, bringing things, and the wars and all of that. Be right back. First, I want to discuss what happens if you're over here and you're not supposed to be here and you get injured in the war, wounded or something. What happens? You go to the hospital. If they're busy working on soldiers, you're going to wait a long time. They may never see you. You're not a citizen, that you're lowest priority. It's harsh here. Then they'll make you pay for emergency room visit, which won't be that much money. A doctor will assess you, and then you'll have to go back to the cashier and pay the estimated cost. It's extremely doubtful that you'll be able to find any insurance that they'll accept. All Israelis have to buy insurance from the government, and there's no deductible in the hospital. They'll treat first patients with life-threatening situations, be they civilian or soldiers. But I'm not so sure they're going to treat tourists. Not while they got soldiers laying there. And they probably wouldn't have a bed to admit you to and all that. So you've got to really be careful that you're supposed to be here. If you're supposed to be here, you're not going to get blown up, I don't think. It's possible, but I wouldn't plan on it. I would think no. All right. If you just need a regular doctor's visit, like you don't want to get a sore throat or something like that, that's easy. There's no trouble with that. There's places you could go. All right. Let's assume you come from the EU, America, Canada, maybe the UK, which is not the EU. The EU lets an Israeli go there for 90 days. Then you have to leave for 90 days, and you can come back and stay another 90 days, that type of thing. Okay? And then you got to leave for 90 days, and that wraps up your year. Got it? And that's what they let you do here. Now, I don't know what the UK does because they're out of the EU, but whatever the UK lets Israelis do there, they'll let it a UK person do here. But normally nobody gets more than 90 days visa as a tourist. Canada or in America, the same thing, you get 90 days. You go to the airport, you basically just swipe your passport in a machine and you get a 90-day visa. You don't even talk to anybody. It's fairly automatic, okay? Now, because we're fighting multiple wars, the immigration people at the airport are trained in intelligence functions in various degrees depending on their job. And they may take you to what's called secondary, which is where they're going to interrogate you. And they may search every piece of luggage you have and start asking you all kinds of questions because we have a terrible terrorist problem here in Israel now. And they don't know who you are. And why the heck are you coming here in the middle of a war? What the heck is this? If you come over and you say, well, I came to see my mom and dad, they need help with the house, and yeah, I know there's a war on. Oh, what's your mom and dad's name? Where do they live? Okay, hold on a minute. Oh, okay, yeah, enjoy Israel, goodbye. Come in, have a good time, you know. Now, we had somebody come a couple of weeks ago that we knew that had visited us 2 times previously. We know the wife, and she's been here. And he came a few weeks ago, and they did this to him at the airport. And my wife needed to vouch for him to get in. I think they were going to send him back. He was a chap from Canada. No, he wasn't from Canada. From America rather. And they're very careful right now. We have a lot of problems. We're not America. We pay attention to a lot of this stuff, okay? So we have, you could have difficulty with that. Someone asked me about bringing a container in. Oh, you don't ever want to do that. Maybe 1 in 100,000 tourists bring a container. And they better have a darn good story as to why they have a container coming over here as a tourist. Because it sure is shooting to the immigration people looks like you're going to overstay your visa. So I would highly recommend you not do that under any circumstances, nor bring a car. I know people do that, and the car gets entered on your passport, and you have to show the car exiting the country before you leave. If you try to leave before the car does, they may not let you go because they think you sold it to somebody without paying the taxes, or you rented it to somebody. So don't bring any cars, okay? Don't bring any containers. You want to bring 10 suitcases, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. maybe 6 suitcases for 2 people, or 7, or, you know, I don't know. Can you have friends send boxes and cardboard with clothes and baby toys and books and things like that to you after you're here? Yes. Will that attract a lot of attention? If it's used clothing, not brand new with the tags on it, it won't. If it's used baby toys, it won't. If it's new stuff with the tags on the clothes, they're not going to like it. Could you take new clothes and send them to the dry cleaners and then fold them and put them in as used clothes? Sure. Can you take Levi's and Wranglers and put them in the washing machine 1 or 2 times and then send them as used? Of course you can. They might charge you 17%, which is soon going to be 18%, 17% tax on the stuff you bring in. But if it's used clothing and used toys and used books, I doubt it. I can't say for sure because they could do what they want, but I doubt it. Okay. Now you need a place to live. You're not going to be able to convince a landlord that you're a long-term tenant, which means 1 year or more, because you have no visa for 1 year. If you wanted to pay the landlord up front for 12 months, he'd be more than happy to give you full receipts and written guarantee, and that's it. But if you leave Israel and can't get back, he's going to keep the money and probably rent the place to somebody else. And if you ever did show up, then he would give you an appropriate refund. So he might wait a month or 2 to see if you come back, and after it's empty by 2 months, he's probably going to re-rent it if you can. Now, every landlord's different, but that would be the general way it would run. A lot of the nice people in Israel that have extra houses will not rent them. They won't. They don't have the heart to be a mean, stinking landlord. The ones that become landlords normally are hard as a rock in their heart, and they're not nice. They're anything but nice. Finding a nice landlord is very, 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 very hard. Okay? And when you're an English speaker, they love you because they'll take advantage of you big time. 2/3 of this country is going to get cut off because they're going to mess with the stranger. You'd be the stranger. And they will mess with you. And that's against the law. But they will do it. So landlords are a very unpleasant thing here. Now, what would it cost? If you're going to live in a big city, Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, and there's very few 1-bedroom or studio apartments in Israel because people have children normally. So you're going to have 2-bedroom, 3, 4-bedroom is going to be the run. Mostly 2 and 3 bedrooms. In a big city with furniture, at least $3,000 a month for anything where the toilet works and you have hot water and the air conditioning works and you could cook and the refrigerator works. At least 3,000, 5,000, 8,000, as you see that a lot. And we're talking apartments. Now, if you go into the rural areas where the population is, let's say, under 50 or 60,000, you could get a 2-bedroom apartment with furniture probably for 50, a low of 15. You might, anything for $1,200 would be a month is going to be a dump. The furniture is going to be garbage and everything, So 1,800 is going to be an acceptable place. 2,000 a nice place in a small city, in an apartment. You start going into what's called a villa, or what you call a private house. You're going to be normally 2,500 to 4,000 in a smaller city, with furniture. If you can find a private house with furniture, that's pretty hard. Can you buy furniture? Yeah, you can buy cheap stuff. Buy plastic tables, plastic chairs to eat on. Buy a rattan sofa with some cushions and some chairs, and yeah, you could do all that. Buy mattresses and just sleep on a mattress, or get a mattress and a box spring. In other words, just minimal furniture. You could do that. Wouldn't be that hard. And you can get internet. You probably already have it, but you can get it. Landline phones you don't need. Just get cell phones. The water will be turned on. The electric usually is turned on. No problem with that. And you'll have to pay the utilities and stuff like that. The landlord's not going to tell you to pay what's called arnona, which is the taxes, because you're not going to know how to do that. So he's going to incorporate it in the rent. Getting him to give you, basically, if you want to do a 3-monther, you got to go find somebody that's in the Airbnb business. And since there's a marked reduction in tourism, you should be able to work a deal on a long-term basis with this person. But again, I think you would be at the $1,500 to $2,000 range per month to get a furnished place with the utilities for air conditioning and heat and all of that, and to have dishes, silverware, refrigerator. For a stove, they're almost invariably going to be giving you a hot plate, a 2-burner hot plate. You can go to the store and buy another 2-burner hot plate if you really want to cook, very inexpensively. It doesn't cost a lot. And then you have 4 burners. I don't mind cooking on a hot plate that much. They're not that bad. And then you go to the supermarket and buy food. Food is more or less like it's priced in America today. Some items are more expensive, some items are cheaper, some items are the same. In general, you're probably going to spend 30% more than you do in America, just as a guess, because I think that's the way the cookie's going to crumble. Okay? Well, you might get away with the same amount, but I don't know. It depends on you, you know? Gas for diesel is $8 to $9 a gallon, if that helps you. Gas, diesel, $8 to $9 a gallon. Does that you got an understanding for that now? How expensive that is here? $8 to $9 a gallon for diesel, U.S. dollars, not shekels. Am I clear? Just so you know what you're getting into. Your electric bills are going to be not that different from American electric bills in a high price area where the electricity costs a lot. It's going to be like that. And electricity is different all over the United States, so it's near impossible to tell you what it costs, but it's not cheap. The water's not cheap. Everything is not. Internet is cheap. You can get like 500 mega internet for $30 a month. That it truly is cheap. Cell phones, go to a store and buy a cell phone, and go to cell phone companies, and or the store will fix you up. If you have an American credit card, they might give you a plan, or if not, you get prepaid minutes, and every time you run low, you just go stock them up. You get digital minutes and voice minutes, and that's it. They got every kind of cell phone under the sun you can buy. They're going to be much more expensive than in America, noticeably, appreciably a lot more money. Could you bring your own cell phone with you? Sure, as long as you make sure it's unlocked and will accept foreign chips, you can. Most cell phones in America are locked, and you can only, if you buy a Verizon phone, you can just use it with Verizon. If you buy AT&T, you can only use it with AT&T. So you have to be very careful about, is your phone locked or not. Cars. To buy a car here as a tourist is going to be a nightmare. You have to register the car, you have to have insurance. I don't know if they're going to sell you insurance. You have to get an Israeli driver's license. Actually, you can drive on your American or Canadian or European license, but you're pretty much going to need to rent a car. I don't think you're going to be able to register a car in your name. So forget that. Just go to the rental car places, and they're set up for people like you. You show them your foreign driver's license. You show them your passport. You give them your credit card. Here's the keys. That's it. A little Fiat 500, which could barely hold 4 people. The very small anemic engine where you might have to shut the air conditioning going up the hill, or a Chevrolet Spark, same price category. If you did great, $1,200-1,300 a month, probably $1,500 a month, and a better car would be about $2,000 a month. U.S. You might do better because there's not many tourists here, but the military is renting a lot of cars from them, so I don't know how it'll go. But plan on $1,200 a month. And that'd be unlimited mileage, include insurance and stuff like that. Okay? Now what? Make sure you buy the insurance from the rent-a-car company, and if I were you, I would buy it without much of a deductible. Because if something happens and you don't have the money to pay them, they'll try to block your passport so you can't leave the country. They may not bother because they got to pay a lawyer to do it, but they have a lot of lawyers full-time. Just buy the extra deductible. You buy it so the deductible is very low. Not much, maybe, $100 or $200 or something. They'll try to stick you with a $2,000 or $3,000 deductible. You don't want to start having that aggravation. Believe me, they don't. Hotels to get started. Well, there's a lot of vacancies these days, except in some areas where they have people evacuated from their Gaza and their Lebanon staying there, which is probably about 200,000 people. But there's a lot of hotel rooms in Israel, so you should be able to get a hotel. Not an Airbnb, a hotel. So what is a hotel going to cost you? An absolute shared toilet will be $100 a day. Something nice that's not 5-star, maybe 3-star, 3.5, 160, 180 a day. Nice hotels are, $350 to $800 a day. 5 stars, probably 160, 180, 200. This time of year without tourists, you get yourself a pretty comfortable hotel. It's not going to be the Ritz or anything. Believe me, it's in America. It would be like a rat hole. You know, it wouldn't be a nice hotel. It'd be a dump. But are you here, hon?
Yeah,
Oh, I smell something. What am I?
I'm cooking. Are you gonna want to eat, or you
Oh
want?
no, I want to eat. I just want to make sure nothing was burning. Okay, so the hotels are. Hey, what do you think a Fiat 500 would cost for a month rental from one of the rental car companies?
Those small ones,
Yeah, a Spark or a 500 Fiat.
2,000, 2,300.
U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah, she knows more about it than I do. She says the rental cars are going to be 2,000 for the little ones. What are the large ones that like the girls had when they came to visit?
Oh, that was about 3,500.
Yeah, a nice SUV should hold 7 people's 3,500 a month. See, everything in Israel's expensive, so upgrade the car to 2,000, 2,300, 2,500 for a small little nothing car. Okay. Um, Restaurants. A good hamburger place, a quarter pounder with cheese, not McDonald's. I'm just giving you a quarter pound hamburger, good meat, good place, with cheese, with French fries or onion rings, and some bottle of water or soda to drink. Let me think about that. Probably around $20 for one. You got it? Okay. Pizza for a large pizza with just cheese or something, about $20. Falafel sandwich, 750. That's how the prices are going to run. It's not cheap here. It's expensive. Please understand that. Okay. Also understand you're not going to be able to work because you have no working papers. Let's not even get into you don't know the language and you don't have the skill set that they need. But before we even get there, you don't have any working papers. So if somebody hires you, they could technically wind up in jail, but realistically wind up with a bad fine. So they're not going to hire you. They could apply to get a work visa for you if you had some skill set they really needed. But I don't know what that would be. But anyway, that's that, you know. So if you were a software engineer and you had a master's degree and 11 years experience, and you know you were making 250,000 a year in the United States, you might find some company in Israel that would get you to work visa and pay you maybe 75,000 a year. They're not going to hire you unless they could steal you. They could just, you know, you may find that. Okay, they might, but you'd have to really know what you're doing. Because how are you going to communicate in the office? You're not using Hebrew, so they're not too high on that. All right. If you're an MD or a DDS, yeah, they'll be easy to get licensed and work here. It wouldn't be hard. So now I'll explain the phraseology in Israel that they say. You know how to make a small fortune in Israel? Bring a large fortune with you when you move here. Uh-huh. And the government of Israel, especially Netanyahu, has been doing this on purpose to keep the Jews out of here. Believe me. Demonic, okay? Believe me, that's it. Cars. Buying cars are crazy expensive here. they're double or more the price in America, and the used cars are probably 2.5 to 3 times, probably 3 times as expensive as they are in America. There's a lot of demand for good used cars because they can't afford the new cars. So you're not going to be able to work, most likely. You're going to have difficulty buying a place. There's only 6% of the land in Israel is available for purchase by foreigners.
2%.
How much?
2%.
I thought it was 6.
2%.
She's telling me it's only 2%. The house I live in that's we rented happens to be one of those pieces, but it's she says it's 2%. Now in my area where I live, they're around. You can find them. You got to really know what you're talking about, and you got to get a lawyer, and they're not going to be cheap. If you just want to buy yourself an apartment in Israel, you're not going to be able to, because they're not going to sell most of these apartments. I don't believe you could buy as a non-Israeli. I don't. Maybe you can. So I know people from Norway that do, but just in one specific apartment building, because it's not really an apartment building. It's
The only land a foreigner can buy is private land. Everything else is only sold to Jews.
They can't buy apartments, can they?
No, it's not private.
Yeah. This guy, they bought these apartments. They weren't really apartments. They were rental units, an investment in a rental unit, and then they just lived in their own rental unit, which was against the law. And they got taken to court, and I don't know what happened. They seem to have won in court. I don't know where it ended from there, but they're still living there. So basically, you can't buy an apartment. And any kind of house you're going to want to live in, $750,000 US minimum. If you want to get a house in a big city like Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, you better start at $3 million US, more likely $5 million. Dollars, not shekels. In the more outlying areas, you could find a nice one for. It would be old, it would be somewhat run down, but it would be functional, and it'd be working. Okay. The pipes might make noise, the roof might have a leak, the windows rattle, but the floors are busted up, but you'd be okay. $750,000. Now you know why I keep asking people for offerings. It's horrible living here. It's very, very costly. Nicer places, $1 million, $1.25 million. Okay? Those are your nicer places. Got it? US, $1 million, $1.25 million. Really nice, gorgeous, beautiful homes with views and yards and gardens and this and that. And $1 million, $1.25 million will get you that usually. Dollars. So, what are you going to do when you get here? And do you not have to work? Getting a bank account would be difficult here. They require a minimum deposit of $50,000 US. You could open up a bank account with the postal bank at the post office for less, and they probably would allow that. They'll also sell you a Visa card that's international or domestic, and then you just transfer the money from your bank account to the card, and you're okay. You might need to have translation for Hebrew to manage that, or go down there. They all speak English. And your American and Canadian and European cards are going to work all over Israel. Not in all the stores, in many of the restaurants. Look, if it's in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, you're not gonna have any trouble. If it's in Eilat, you're not gonna have any trouble. If it's in Afula, you're gonna have trouble. If it's in Nahariya, you're gonna have trouble, because they don't get a lot of foreigners there. They don't have those kind of credit card processors. so you don't have difficulty using the cards. The ATM machines, generally you might have to go to a few different machines, but you're going to be able to pull money out without trouble. You've got to tell your bank you're going to be in Israel so they could set your card up so you can pull the cash out. So you will be able to pull from the machine's money in shekels. So you don't necessarily need a bank account. You can have friends and family send money to you on Western Union, and the post office is the Western Union agent in Israel, and you can go there and pick it up, but you're going to have to keep the amounts down. Maybe they might let you do $3,000 at a time, but you're probably better off at about 1,000 or less, you know. A lot of the other transfer services don't want you receiving money in Israel, so I think Western Union can get away with it. I wouldn't bring traveler's checks. I don't think they use them anymore here. I wouldn't bother with that. You could send Western Union to yourself. So you could bring in, I think it's a foreigner, you have to check, I think it's $15,000, but most countries don't let you leave with more than 10 per person, but I think a married couple counts as one person. But if you're friends, you know, so you could bring, if, you know, your country lets you, you could bring $15,000 and then send yourself some wires before you leave at Western Union and then just retrieve them yourself. Technically, you could send 25,000 at a time in Western Union, but I would not try that in Israel. I wouldn't. The maximum I'd ever go is 3,000, and I would keep it under that. So there are, you know, it's not the end of the world. The best way is just to pull cash on your ATM machine, and that's that. And make sure you have an abundance of cash in case our grid goes out from the war. You'll get by for a while, you know, anyway. So I guess I gave you, now just to make clear with me and my wife, people come here that we don't even know. We know from the internet, and they say, hey, I want you to, you know, take me around, take me to Jerusalem, take me here, pick me up at the airport. You gotta be kidding. We're old, okay? And this is what I do is I prepare for the videos, which takes a few hours. I do the videos, and then I'm shot. And then the next day I do it again. I don't have any time to go do that. I can't run around. Neither can my wife. Neither can we pick you up at the airport. It's 2.5 hours each way to the airport. Plus probably an hour and a half to 2.5 hours waiting at the airport. The whole day is shot. Plus we're paying $8-9 a gallon for gasoline. Come on. So, you know, we're not going to be able to take you shopping. We're not going to be, I could explain to you how to try to get a food delivery using Google Translate from a supermarket if you have a credit card they accept, which I don't know if they'll take your card or not. They take American cards, some of them some of the time. If they'll accept your card, then you can have your groceries delivered. You can also go to small stores and, you know, our plate's full. People that live here in Israel have a lot of problems living here that you're not aware of because you don't live here. And that's without the wars. So there's a lot of difficulty living in Israel, okay? And it's hard. It's real hard. So please understand that we're not at your disposal. We can't do it. If we wanted to be at your disposal, we can't. We're old. We got animals to take care of, and we got our lives, we got chores, we got cleaning, My wife does ministry type work. I do, and we, in the evening we start falling asleep. You know, when plates are full, can we sit and talk and help on the phone with things here and there? Yeah, but you can't bury us. We're old, okay? So don't think that we're going to be able to go touring with you and things like that. There's people that come here and they're rude and they're crass and they think that, we're at their disposal. That's just a carryover from replacement theology, is all that is. I'm in Israel, you Jews serve me. You think it doesn't happen? You're wrong. It does happen. It does happen. Should you visit Israel before you move here? Probably. Probably. I know one person that came here a few years ago to check it out before they moved here, and they didn't even finish their tourist trip. It was so bad, and that's before the wars. They just went home in a few days. They thought it was that bad. We've seen a lot of people make blundering mistakes trying to move here, and we've seen a lot of people be successful. But if you don't have what the government considers to be Jewish, it gets dicey, you know. And if you do have it, they ask you if you now or have ever believed in Yeshua or Jesus, and if you have, they turn you down for citizenship. They might let you be a resident or something. It's nuts. It's so hard living here. I don't think you could ever understand it unless you live here. That's it. I mean, I'm not insulting you, but it's beyond most people's imagination how difficult this place is, and it's done this way on purpose by the government. The third temple, no, it's not. You don't understand. You're the temple of the Holy Spirit. You don't get it. The menorah is gold, not brass. Edom, tell the truth. Oh, we got the black Israelites or the black Hebrews, whatever they call themselves here. Germany, all right. How much do you pay for insurance? Oh, I don't pay anything. I'm retired. I'm an old fogey. I pay about 350 US dollars a year for medical for me and my wife combined with no deductible at the hospital. If we go to a specialist, like let's say, I don't know, a dermatologist or something, we have to pay approximately $10 for the first visit, but that's the deductible. But he's not allowed to charge us again for 90 days. So they try to book you and then they tell you to come back 91 days later and they charge you another $10. This is Israel. But if you got to come back a month later or a week later, there's no deductible. If you go to see a family practice doctor, there's no deductible. Um, we generally pay 15% on the prescriptions. Me and my wife both have not been to the doctors in years. We don't trust them. We don't go. They're not good doctors generally. They're sloppy. The system is sloppy. It's cheap. They use drugs that other countries stopped using years ago and stuff like that. We just don't bother with them. They're dangerous. bird's upset. This person posted 1 Corinthians 6:19. What know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which you have of God, and you are not your own? I just told you, the temple of the Holy Spirit. When you read Ezekiel chapters 8 to 11, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 chapters, it talks about the temple. Got it? When you read Ezekiel chapters 40 to 48, 9 chapters, it talks about the temple. That's 13 chapters. Then take the book of Joel, you got 16 chapters. And then here and there elsewhere, I could probably get it up to 20 chapters. It talks about the next temple very easily, maybe 25, 30 chapters. And you think it's all irrelevant? You don't read your Old Testament. I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for you. I really do. You got to come out from these churches. They're not real. They, you know. You know, you read about New Jerusalem, it says it has 12 gates, each one guarded by an angel and having a giant pearl in Revelation 21. Each gate is named after one of the tribes of Israel. What do you think that the gates should be named Baptist, Assemblies of God, Lutheran, Episcopalian, Presbyterian? Is that what you think? Is that what you think is going to happen? If you're in Yeshua, you're in Israel. That's why it says all Israel shall be saved. Show me where the churches are going to be saved. Show me where denominational churches are going to be saved. Show me where it says in the Bible, go ye forth into all the world, take money from those pressing into the kingdom of God, and buy a big moronic building nobody benefits from. When in Acts chapter 2, they were selling their real estate to meet the needs of their fellow believers, the church world takes money from the people that need it to pay for big stupid buildings that nobody lives in. And you really think this is the church? Do you really believe that? How could you believe that? The 10 Commandments says, you shall hallow my Sabbath day and not work. That's the 10 Commandments. Do you think that God did away with the 10 Commandments? You don't murder, you don't do adultery, you don't steal, you don't lie. Why do you think it's okay to wipe your feet, and I say wipe your feet, on the day that's hallowed, that God calls a special day that you should respect and hallow and treat holy and not work? Why do you think it's okay to not only do that, but to go even further and change the Sabbath to a Sunday? By what authority? And you mock me and tell me that we're the temple. Wake up. I hope you come out of it. I'm not trying to put you down. I'm trying to help you. But I'm not subtle. I'm rather abrasive, and I know that. Okay, I think I've accomplished. Let me check. I want to make sure I accomplished everything I was supposed to do today. I think I have. Let me give you a scripture about the church, and this is going to be a devastatingly painful scripture for the church. Amos 9:12. Okay, when I say it's going to be painful for the church, not for us. That they may possess the remnant of Edom and of all the heathen which are called by my name, saith Jehovah, that doeth this. Okay, who are the heathen that are called by his name? Is that Islam? No. How about the Hindus? No. How about Buddha? You know, rub the belly Buddha? No. How about atheists? No. Catholics? Sort of. Christians? Yeah. Christ. They're called by his name, Christ, which means anointed. Christos, the Hebrew is Mashiach. Then you go to the Latin, which is Christos. And then you go to the Greek, which is Christ. It means anointed. And that's what it is. And they're going to be our inheritance. That means slaves. Servants, indentured servants, or something like that. But slaves is more fitting with inheritance. Why? I'm going to tell you. I'm going to painfully for them tell you. Because they do replacement theology and they mock us. We're here as timing for their rapture, which is false. The rapture happens on the last day. There are no more days. Yeshua said it 4 times. John 6:39, 40, 44, and 54. Most of these people you can't talk to. They don't want to hear it. They love rejecting knowledge, and then Yeshua's going to reject them. They love it. They treat us like pure garbage. I see them here as tourists in Israel. They come to see the land, not the people. They don't care about us. It's like they see through you, like you're not there. Because they're waiting to come back as gods and reign over us with the rod of Christ or something, which is not the scripture. Yeshua's going to come back and reign over the heathen with a rod of iron. There's no scripture that says they're going to come with Jesus and reign over the Jews. They're idiots. They're crazy. They have another gospel. They don't read their Bible. They don't study their Bible. They have another spirit, which is an unclean spirit. They worship another Jesus, the December 25th Jesus, which is Tammuz, the sun god. If you were going to worship the sun god, what if you were Satan and you wanted to trick the church into worshiping the sun god? Would you have them worship the sun god on Monday or Wednesday or perhaps Sunday? I rest my case. All right. My name's Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy, and healing. Pray for our finances. Offerings are picking up. Please keep it going. It's, as you know, it's very expensive to live here. Offering information is at the top of the chat, and it's in the description box under the video. And pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues to be happy, healthy, and whole. And pray for the peace of Yerushalayim. And by all means, pray I generate better videos. Pray I get better videos. I make a better job. And, you know. And thank you for the offerings, for those that send them in. And I send my shalom to all those who love Shabbat Shalom. We're going on to Shabbat. I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out. Thanks, guys. I hope you got something.